This is the scene outside the Maryland courthouse where Judge Paula Zinnes is questioning Abrego Garcia's attorneys and attorneys for the federal government. Our team inside the courtroom reports that Judge Zinnes is expressing frustration over the Trump administration's response to her questions about what, if anything, they have done to facilitate Abrego Garcia's release. Judge Zinnes telling federal attorneys this, quote, "My question that the high court squarely affirmed I can ask is, what have you done? I've gotten nothing. I've gotten no real response and no real legal justification for not answering," end quote. Joining us now is Laurence Tribe. He's a professor emeritus at Harvard Law School and is widely recognized as one of the foremost constitutional law experts in the nation. Andrew and Claire are still with us. Professor Tribe, take us to school. How is this happening?
Well, I've been in school for 50 years, studying the Constitution, teaching about it. It doesn't enforce itself. It takes human beings of character to take it seriously. And when, for whatever combination of cultural and social reasons, the nation selects someone who clearly has no respect for the Constitution, someone who is cruel, someone who is without moral principle, this is what we see. We see a tin horn dictator interacting with a wannabe dictator in the United States in the Oval Office, seeing whether one of them can outdo the other in mocking the U.S. Supreme Court, clearly defying its mandate that we make a reasonable effort to facilitate the return of a human being, a guy with 3 kids, a guy with a wife who we heard at the beginning. People forget the human dimension of this, and it's not just immigrants. They're important, but it's all of us. If the United States government can do what Trump claims, and that is just grab people off the street, make claims about them that you never present to a judge, whisk them away to a prison colony in El Salvador, a place notorious for torturing people, for getting them to perform slave labor. If that can happen to Gilmar Abrego Garcia, it can happen to anybody, because any of us can claim we didn't do anything, but who can listen if you're on a plane on the way out of the country before anyone catches up? That's what we have. We have an impending police state. Very few people are standing up. I'm proud to say that Harvard University took a stand and said, we will not let you tell us what to teach, how to teach, what kinds of ideas are acceptable. But so many have not stood up, and that's the problem. People have simply accepted the rule of an autocrat. Law firms have caved in, not all of them, but many. Lawyers have decided it's more important to preserve what they think of as their lucrative clientele than to stand up to a government that punishes people for their point of view and kidnaps them off the street. We are at a point of extreme crisis. How we got here is a longer story than any of us have time to tell. But what matters now is, how can we get out of it? How can we turn things around? Only if all of us are fully engaged, doing everything you possibly can, joining the resistance, going to peaceful protests, making sure that everybody you know is organized to vote in the midterms, making sure that you contact those who supposedly represent you and who are not doing their job, making sure that you are heard and not cowering in silence just because we confront somebody who is vindictive, who doesn't give a damn about the law.
Professor Tribe,
important. Yes, Nicole.
Has any court affirmed or permitted any of the flagrantly autocratic conduct of this White House yet?
Well, no court has said that it is okay to just get rid of due process and ignore the law. There are particular skirmishes that President Trump has won because someone didn't have standing to challenge him, or because they hadn't yet proven that imminent harm occurred. But broadly speaking, across the board, as Andrew Weissman has said, with judges of all stripes, appointees of the Trump administration, the Obama administration, the George W. Bush administration, across the ideological spectrum, overwhelmingly, judges have said no. And it's been possible so far for Trump to slither around the little gaps left in decisions and not openly defy the judiciary. But he is doing that now. He is basically laughing and saying, I can't force El Salvador, a sovereign country, to release this guy. And the president of El Salvador says, I can't smuggle him into the United States. And these two guys are looking at each other as though we are stupid and blind and don't realize that all Trump has to do is ask nicely, would you return this guy to us? There's no indication that, as Claire McCaskill says, that the contract between the United States and El Salvador makes us somehow the weak partner. We have the leverage. We're paying this guy a ransom to enslave people that we send to him. If we say send one back, he's got to. He's done it for 10 people already. The American people are not so stupid, really, as to think that this is not open defiance of the rule of law. And the rule of law is not just some abstraction. All of us have to be protected by a set of rules that people play by. Otherwise, it's the law of the jungle. It's chaos. It's anarchy. It's might makes right. And that's the world that Trump likes, even though, ironically, as Senator McCaskill says, he's obviously a weak and impotent man if he can't bring back this one guy that the government admitted was lawlessly and mistakenly shipped out of the country to a place where a court had ordered he could not be taken.
Professor Tribe, what happens in our country when a president is in defiance of the Supreme Court? Do they have any recourse?
Well, we'll have to see. There is a recourse if you've got a Congress that could do its job. The House would impeach him. The Senate would convict him and conclude that he could never again hold office. That's clearly what should happen to Donald Trump. We've been through 2 impeachments, but now what he has done represents kind of piling on. He's basically saying, I told you I would trash the Constitution. Now I'm doing it. And what are you going to do about it? And I think it's time for us to stand up and say, man, we're going to get rid of you. And there are peaceful ways to do it. But so far, the Republicans in the Congress are basically spineless. Those who are spineless should be voted out of office.
Professor Larry Tribe, thank you. Laurence Tribe, thank you very much for being part of our coverage and for adding your gravitas and experience to this moment. We are very grateful to you.
Thank you, Nicole.